So the strategy, if you got an overseas question, to me is to describe this all the way. But now with a spreadsheet, the story becomes much easier. Under the written exam, it was very difficult because you can imagine how many times you'd be canceling as you come across items. But with a spreadsheet, this is a much better exercise because if you've forgotten something and it comes back, you just try to create space for it and put it there. After I've described everything, there will be some cash flows which are very easy to put in. Which are some of the cash flows which are easy to put in? Which are some of the cash flows which are easy to put in?
Investment.
I would start with that one, Mr. Mfungo. That one. The discount rate, put it in. From there, yes, the investment line. There we are. These cash flows, all of them, they'll be in the rands. From rand, we convert them to dollars. So what else can I put in? Because it's been given already.
Working capital, initial working capital.
We can also put in the exchange rates. They've been given already. So just put them in. These ones put in. So this is how you can cut this question to size. Okay. Then we can now put in the other items. I've shown you how to work out working capital. Can you please individually quickly do a working for working capital so that we compare notes? Working capital. Let's compare notes. Please, all of you get involved. Let's get involved. Let's get involved. Working capital. We have identified working capital may not be as complicated, but just be careful. Just be very, very careful with working capital. Mr. Nkungula has chosen working capital. That let's do with working capital once and for all.
Yeah, because what I did is just to put the figure first of all, 96, like in the 0 column, then inflate it.
So Mr. Nkungulu says you put 96 and inflate it throughout. I'll give you some time. I'll pause the recording. I want each one of you to work out the answer. Okay. So for you at your level, here's my guide. If the numbers are small, for instance, if somebody had over-rounded off, the figures are very small, they're very small, then we advise her to do what? We advise her to do 2 decimal places. But if the figures are already like this, don't do 2 decimal places, just do the whole number.
Mr. Piri.
Yes, please.
Something in the exam that I've noticed is that we don't have this spreadsheet where you have room to work out to reduce the figures, like where you can go to numbers where you can reduce the figures to 2 decimal places or 3. In the spreadsheet that is given the exams, the way the figure calculate it, that's the way to come out. You don't have that provision to work around it to reduce it.
Okay, I'll check it. I think I talked to SCCA to give me access to that platform. I think in the course of this week, I'll have access to that platform. It must be possible because with the F9 students, we do it. So I'll just counter check. The only thing is that probably it's not as versatile. It's not as you need to be used to it. But I think if by Tuesday I should have access to the same so that I'll use the same for demonstration. So that I can check what
Alright.
the current spreadsheet looks like, yeah.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so those are good points because we're preparing for an exam. So I want to start getting ready for what we meet in the exam. Huh? So there are questions about rounding off, which are very good questions. Eh? Because once you master it now, in the exam, just go and do the same, what you have been doing, isn't it? Yeah. So we have thrown in the working capital. What else have we thrown in? We have thrown in the sales. So the sales figures now, let's counter check our sales figures. So the sales figures are here. There we are. What of the variable costs? Variable costs, fixed costs, these are easier. And the easiest of these, one can argue is which one? The fixed cost. Because the fixed cost, we don't need the working for it. We don't need the working. We just take the figure today and grow it. But when growing it, we need to be very careful. We need to be very, very careful. So the fixed cost, they have given us a figure. Where is our figure? It's 4,600 million. Let's go, 4,6 here. So 4,6, we grow it. In year one, we grow it by what percentage? The 4,6, in year one, we grow it by what percentage? In year two, you grow it by what percentage? There you grow it by what? And there you grow it by what? So there, you take your figure, which is 4,6, just multiply it straight on the worksheet itself. Eh? Don't create a working for it. There's no need. Then you get that figure. Then this one multiplied by what? Is it working out, people? Can I be getting a feedback, please?
Yes.
It is, eh? So the fixed cost, please. You drag your formula there, make sure that you get that one right. And let's be talking, let's be conversing. Let's be conversing. Variable cost, in what currency are they coming? What currency are they coming in? These are in YR. There's no need for what? There's no need for what? For conversion, just like the fixed cost. Let's set up the working. Let's set up the working. The working is here. Variable cost. Before inflation is how much? So multiply this by what figure? You get that. Then you multiply by, then, and, please, can you set up a working, the years, the variable cost per unit, the units, and total variable cost. Can you set up the workings, please?
I think the rounding of
Go ahead. The rounding off is okay.
it has been done nicely.
The variable cost. So the variable costs, we agree very well. Eh? So these are the variable costs. I'm happy to here that you have done that well. And you see, a typical investment appraisal question will look like this one. Components. The component is coming what currency again? What currency is the component?
In Ireland, whatever currency.
In what currency?
It's in US dollar.
USD. So there's a need to do what?
Need to convert.
To convert to what? To the rand. The good news is that they gave us the what? These rates were given to us. What of this is 280? Why is it 288 here? It's because we have increased this by what? These figures have been increased by what? USA inflation, yeah? So please, can you increase those figures by USA inflation?
Mr. Perry,
Yes, please.
the question.
Yes,
On
go
the
ahead.
component,
Yes.
the question says that, however, I use that it can negotiate with Y government to increase the transfer price to 280 per component.
Exactly.
So the assumption is the negotiation went through to that figure.
Yes, please.
From 200 to 280.
Yes, please.
All right.
And later on, we'll be commenting on these assumptions. There is even more marks for commenting on these assumptions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Perry.
Excellent. Let's put in the figures. Now, some of you may have realized that it's even possible to cut and paste some of the formats. You can even cut and paste some of the formats. You can even cut and paste, isn't it? Is there anyone who's cutting and pasting? Because you now have similar formats. For instance, from the variable costs, from the selling price, it's possible to cut and paste. Not so. You can cut and paste. Mr. Nkungul, how's the rounding of here? Is it perfect?
No, it's okay.
Yeah, the other one you said it was perfect. What of this one? How do you describe it?
It's okay as well. It's fine.
All right.
But the other one, I think maybe SCCA needs to improve. They should advise. I don't know how best it can be because when we don't round off, we round off the final figures. We find that there'll just be a minor difference.
Okay. Yeah, but these are mine, eh? These are not SCCA.
No, these are okay, very okay.
Okay. All right. Okay, fine. So we are happy with this one. What of royalties? Royalties. 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 Let's go to royalties. The royalty, they say again, the person who asked the question again, we are assuming that they will successfully increase by 80%, so they become 36. 36. So these are in millions. Huh? These are in millions. Is that okay? Then we convert this. Which exchange rate are you using? You see, YR on a single. So this is now in YR. Let's go. YR million. Have we seen where the 36 has come from? You add 80% to 20, which is 16 plus 20, 36. And they say this will be constant, so you don't inflate these. You don't inflate these, eh? So all you do is you multiply. You multiply. So your royalties are here. You're done, people. You would cash flow before tax. Can you imagine you're done? Cash flow before tax. Okay, that is all right there. That is all right. Taxation. Taxation. Here's a working for tax. I have simply cut and paste the cash flow before tax. Then there's tax allowed depreciation. Then there's loss relief. Whenever we have a question involving loss relief, just create the working like this. It's the easiest. It's the easiest. What do we mean? You've got your cash flow before taxation, which is coming from up there. Tax allowed depreciation. Tax allowed depreciation is 25% on the machinery. So 25% on the machinery, which is your machinery was 18,000. So multiply this by 25%. So these are the reliefs. So year one, you've got a loss, a tax loss. But in the first 2 years, there's no tax that you are paying. So this loss is carried forward to when you start paying tax, which is here. In year two, you've got that figure, but again, you're told you won't pay tax. So the only loss relief we have is this one, which you have brought here. That's all. So the taxable cash flow, so this is what is taxable. The first 2 years, there's a tax holiday. There's no tax there, there's no tax there. That is why we put a 0 here and we put a 0 there. The first tax will be paid in year 3. But in year 3, what is taxable is what we have for that year, against the tax allowed depreciation and the loss relief. So these are the tax figures. That are paid in Y. And this tax is paid at what percentage? At 40%. What would I encourage you to carry from here? You carry the format. But each time I've got the loss relief, it's better I have the cash flow before the taxation, tax allowed depreciation, and the loss relief, so that I'm able to calculate my taxable cash flows on which I now pay the tax. So what we take now to your table, is just the tax paid now. So here, all you need is you come here, you say, my tax is here. This year, that year is no tax. This is the first tax paid, next tax paid. Then from there, you go to cash flow after tax. Then you got now, we convert this, you must put the exchange rate. That is the exchange rate is YR on okay.
Mr. Perry.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's one. So if we are to use the tax depreciation, let's say tax depreciation was to come in twice, mean that the tax loss would have been added again?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But avoid that working. It will create unnecessary confusion for you.
Okay, but if we use your approach, then there would be no need to bring in back the tax loss.
There's nothing. The
Okay.
tax loss and the tax allowed depreciation, all those are in the workings. Here, all we need to know is what? What do we need to know here? Tax payable, that's all.
Tax payable.
That is only the tax that is payable.
But I was finding the same figures when I used my approach.
Yes, you'll find the same figures, yes. So these figures are now converted. So you divide. Now you have seen what I've done here, Mr. Kunguru. I've now put in 2 decimal places because the figures have become smaller. So here I put 2 decimal places because we're dividing these figures by that. Okay, in conclusion now, these figures, where are they now? They have landed in the USA. In the USA, they are relevant cash inflows. What are these relevant cash inflows? Royalties. We are making money on the royalties. The head office is earning some.
Mr. P, just there.
Yeah.
Because what I see here is a direct proportion, like Yilandwe is using the Zambian currency, where first of all we are multiplying, then a conversion to the US we are dividing.
Yes.
Well, now at this stage here of dividing, let's say if it was an indirect proportion, we could have multiplied.
Yes, you could have multiplied.
Or could have done the opposite in short.
Oh, exactly.
Okay.
So there are some relevant cash flows which we anticipated. The royalties, we're earning money. This is a benefit the head office. The contribution on the component, these are benefits the head office. Unfortunately, there's an opportunity cost there, the reduction in cash flows. And if we are paying a higher tax, there would have been additional local tax. But in this case, there is no additional local tax because you have already suffered a higher tax. Royalties. In the USA, those royalties that you earn, the 36 million, they're going to be taxed at 20%. So the US government is going to tax those. That is why we're saying these are net of tax. These are net of tax. So the government is going to tax you at 20%. So these items are net of tax. So these are cash flows earned in the USA. 36 remove 20% tax. That's what we have here. From 36, you knock off 20%.
Now, then based on the gross amount.
Come again?
I'm saying the royalty tax, which is the net.
Mm-hmm.
Can we say that is based on the gross amount?
Yes. The tax will be levied on the 36. Lastly, on the component, the contribution on the component. The contribution earlier on, it was how much? It was 120. No, earlier on it was you are making a contribution of 40. Then you negotiated for an increase of 8. So your contribution was 120. That's what you are earning. But this is in year 0. So 1 year from now, you start increasing these figures by US inflation. By US inflation. So remember, the original contribution was only what? Was only a 40. But we have negotiated for the increase in the transfer to 280. So there's an increase of 80. This is the 80 that we are putting here. And then that 120, you increase it. So these are the figures that you have here. Then you multiply by what? By the units. Then you go to total contribution. Knock off the tax. So net of tax. Net of tax, you go, you remove 20%. So you've got 14,832, 48,76. Then you convert these figures to what? You report them in millions. You report these figures in millions. All these are US dollars. Remember, we've moved away now from the rand. So divide each one of these figures by 1,000.
Mr. Siri, which tax is going to be used on the contribution on the component?
It's still the 20% because this was earned in the USA.
Okay. So if we use, let's say, the tax of 20% in the first year, then the final figure that we get is 14,832.
Yes. So me, what I did, I multiplied my figures by 0.8.
Okay.
What I did was I multiplied my figures by 0.8.
Okay. Okay, so what I need to understand is that, in short, all the figures that are in the US will be subject to a tax of 0.2%.
20%.
Or which is 20%.
Or 0.2.
So all the figures that are in US will be subjected
all the cash flows end. The cash flows
in
end.
US.
On the project, they'll be taxed.
Oh, okay, now I've seen. So the only figures that are not taxed is the ones where we are converting from the domestic currency to the foreign currency. Like 479.2 and 16. Those are the ones that are not subject to tax because they've already been subjected to tax.
Yes, excellent.
Okay.
Excellent. That's a correct understanding.
Then my question again is on tax, the additional tax. Let's say, how are we going to account for it if there was an additional tax?
Would have charged just the difference. Would have
The
gone.
difference.
I would have gone to these figures, the taxable cash flows. Would have gone the taxable cash flows, and charged. So we are going to base it here. We're going to hit it here. We're going to take these figures and apply a percentage on these and convert them.
Okay, so if the tax, let's say, was 5% difference, then we could have...
Apply 5% on these figures.
Okay.
Then you convert them into the USD. You get it?
Okay, so maybe you can show us, Mr. P, because these questions, it's like they're intertwined.
Additional US tax. At 5%. So it would have been here. So these would have been the taxes. Then you bring in the exchange rates. You bring the exchange rates. So the exchange rate is here. So the additional tax that you would have reported would have been, take this figure, divide by that. So these would have been the taxes that would have reported. So the point is you need to go to the taxable cash flows and charge the additional tax on these figures. So it should have been on these figures.
And then finally, what are those figures, Mr. P, which are at the end there, 142.5?
That's the additional tax now. Also, these were the tax, these were the figures, these were the exchange rates. These are the exchange rates.
Exchange rates.
Yes, the exchange rates.
So these, they'll come in the second, in the remittance section.
Yes, after the remittance.
Okay.
In which case then, you would have a report to make somewhere here. So then these figures will come here. They'll come here.
Okay, I just want to see that part, Mr. P, the same part.
The same part here.
Because these people are mad there.
So this is what you would have done. You would have included this portion here. That's a portion you could have included. And then
Okay,
finally,
then
you could have
finally we multiply.
So you take 5% of this, each one of these, then you divide by the exchange rates.
Okay.
Is that okay?
I'll take your time, Mr. Piri. There, sorry.
No, that's okay. That's all right. I mean, we are done. Actually, the question is done. Eh? So it's better we start looking at the individual elements. In fact, now I was going to ask that which items can you rediscuss? So you have just opened the floor by saying, let's go through the additional tax, how it would have appeared. I have no problem. That's very okay.
Okay, so the cash flow there, for the taxable cash flow is 4063. So we're using, let's say, the additional tax of 5%.
Yes.
So it results into 2032.61.
Yes.
And then the exchange rate is 142. So thinking 4653 minus 2032.61.
Come again, start again.
4653 minus 2032.
This is a tax. You have calculated the tax already. So I've applied 5% on that figure. So here I see this figure times 0.05.
Yes.
5%. But this is in what currency?
Ireland.
Then I use this exchange rate.
Okay.
Convert it to what? To USD. This now is what currency? USD.
Okay. Can you bring it? These people are mad.
So you saw how this 22 came in, eh? 5% of that.
Yes.
You that. Then this is the exchange rate. Then you convert to USD. Now this one is what you report after the remittances.
Okay. Then that one now we'll add it to our exchange rate, to our remittance.
So it will come here. It will come here. It will come here. They won't be zeros now. They'll be figures here.
So we'll add them back.
You'll put them here. And they'll be minuses because they're cash outflows, eh?
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Perry.
Yes, please.
Maybe we can go back to the royalties.
The royalties, eh?
The first calculation of the royalties, yes.
Royalties are coming in two places. There are royalties on the expenses and on the remittances. So royalties on which side?
On both sides. Let's start with the first one.
Okay, the royalty.
On the expenses.
Okay. All right, not a problem.
I think I missed that.
Okay, here we are.
So here, who is paying this fee of 20% later on, which will be increased by 80%?
Okay, so the project, remember we are evaluating this project. So this project will have got an expense. So the project has to pay this royalty.
Okay.
So this becomes a project cost.
Oh, okay.
So for us to assess whether this project is viable or not, we need to build in this cost. That's the logic.
Okay. 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 So the 36 is already inflated?
Remember what they said? Once agreed, this fee will not be subject.
Oh, not be inflated. Okay, okay. All right. So now the 80 pay, okay, I've seen. I've gotten the point. Okay, I've gotten the point. Thanks.
All right.
And then on the revenue side, down there in USA,
okay,
where it comes as revenue.
So then the company, then it means that they will be earning this 36. This is the money which will be earned by the head office. So the head office is going to pocket this money. So when the head office is trying to assess whether this project is viable or not, the head office has to look into how much they are earning. They are earning some money out of this. I don't think there's a separate working for it. So the head office is earning this money. So 36 less 20%. What I've said here is that the head office is 36 times 0.8 net of tax.
Okay, all right.
So
okay, I get the point.
As we are assessing the viability, we need to recognize that we're earning this money as head office, because head office is one that is going to invest. So they cannot ignore these benefits. They need to bring them in as well.
Okay. So on the other side, it's an expense, but at head office, it comes as a revenue, but then it will be taxed using USA tax, which is 20%.
Excellent, that's the way.
Okay, thanks.
100% correct.
All right, that's clear. It's clear.
Others, let's have questions. This is a landmark question. It's a very nice question.
And they'll bring it exactly.
No, it's possible. Just starting to repeat some of these questions, right? You are very right.
I would send it tonight so that we can work on it tomorrow, this holiday.
Okay, fine. That's okay. Just after this lecture, I'll send it over.
Okay. They can bring it exactly.
Can you also share the last lesson with recording?
Come again?
May you also share the recording for the last lesson if you didn't share it already?
Oh, we did. Wait, I didn't share the last one, huh? For that's what stays there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Phil, even the Fubuki working Excel sheet, you never shared it.
Which one?
The Fubuki, the Excel working.
The workings. So if you notice where I'm scrolling down here, you notice that it's the same worksheet. So you find all this on this worksheet. If you notice down here, you're going to capture it in this same worksheet. Yeah. Yeah. So there's nothing to panic over. Once you come here, you find it. It's here. That's for Buki. That's Yilandwe. There's even another company there as well. All right, people, we've done a good amount of work despite being a holiday. So on come Tuesday, we want to attend to the concept of risk. We're going to look at the concept of risk in investment appraisal. How do we capture the concept of risk in investment appraisal? And also look at the concept of the value at risk. We'll look at the value at risk. So that's what to look at in our next class. Yeah. All right, we'll see you people. I'll be sending this just now before I switch off.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Mr. Perry,
Thank you.
Thank you.